When you look at your life and notice that the same kind of people keep appearing, the same patterns keep unfolding, and the same emotional echoes keep returning, it may feel as though the universe is playing a repetitive tune. But if you listen closely, this repetition is not an accident. It is a mirror gently placed before you. As I speak to you now, I want you to understand this not intellectually but experientially, because life itself is always responding to the way you are, not to the way you pretend to be. And perhaps, as you hear these words, you may recognize moments in your own journey where the same personality, the same conflict, or the same lesson walked through the door wearing different faces. If you have experienced this, just notice it within yourself, because awareness itself is the beginning of transformation, and your noticing already changes the quality of your presence. When a person begins to awaken spiritually, they assume that their life will suddenly fill with enlightened beings, that only gentle, harmonious, fragrant souls will show up. But existence does not conform to your fantasies. Awakening does not change the world around you. It changes the way the world responds to you. And often, the first response of life to your awakening is to bring forward the unresolved, the unacknowledged, the unintegrated aspects of who you are. If certain types of people keep gravitating toward you, it is not because you are destined for difficulty, but because life is intelligent in its design. It keeps offering you exactly the situations that allow you to see yourself clearly. When you begin to taste a deeper dimension of life, life immediately provides the stage for you to test whether this depth is genuine or merely decorative. In that sense, the people you attract are not obstacles. They are instruments, tuning forks that vibrate with the frequency of your own unfinished symphonies. Some people come into your life because they resonate with your longing, some because they resonate with your fear, and some because they resonate with your possibilities. Those who resonate with your longing often appear soft, gentle, and comforting. They reflect your desire for peace, your yearning for stability. But those who resonate with your fear may come in disruptive forms. Their presence may unsettle you, provoke you, or even irritate you. Yet if you look closely, they show you the places within yourself where you are not yet free. And then there are those rare beings who resonate with your possibilities. They may challenge you, support you, or catalyze you, but whichever way they do it, they elevate the quality of your life. If you ever feel inspired as you listen, you may even share your reflection with someone close to you, because sometimes the simplest sharing becomes a doorway for someone else. When spiritually awakened people attract the same type of person again and again, it often means that a certain pattern within them is still active. Awakening is not a one-time achievement. It is a constant clearing, a continuous deepening of clarity. If there is a fragment of emotional memory still vibrating within you, life will bring someone who presses exactly that button. Not because existence has nothing better to do, but because life wants you to see the button itself. And if you resist, if you push them away, if you judge them, the pattern will simply reappear in another form. Life is patient. Life is infinitely patient, but also infinitely precise. It keeps shaping your experiences until you see what you must see. This is why, if you pay attention, you might notice that the people who irritate you the most often become your greatest teachers, though they will never be listed as such in any textbook. Have you noticed that when you change internally, even slightly, the world around you responds differently? Suddenly, someone who used to dominate your emotional space no longer affects you the same way. Or someone who used to appear intimidating becomes irrelevant. This is because relationships, every kind of relationship, are energetic phenomena before they become emotional or social. You do not attract people with your words or intentions. You attract them with your state of being. If your being is still carrying subtle residues of insecurity, you will naturally find yourself in the company of those who sense it. They may not know consciously, but they feel the opening. And if your being is radiating clarity, you will find that confusion has no space to rest around you. If this resonates with you in any way, you may take a moment to simply acknowledge it within yourself, because acknowledgement is a powerful step in shifting your inner landscape. Spiritual awakening heightens your sensitivity. You become more aware of the undercurrents within yourself and others. But heightened sensitivity without mastery can make you more susceptible to certain personalities. For instance, if your compassion expands before your boundaries do, people who seek emotional refuge or emotional control may gravitate toward you. If your presence becomes peaceful, people in turmoil will naturally seek your company. But if you mistake being a source of comfort for being a receptacle of confusion, you may repeatedly invite those who take more than they give. Awakening does not mean you must allow everyone into your inner space. It means you must see clearly who enters and why. If ever you feel inclined to reflect on the quality of people in your life, doing so consciously can sometimes bring tremendous clarity. Some awakened individuals unconsciously adopt the role of healer, not because they choose it, but because others project it onto them. When your presence feels like a balm, wounded souls will approach you. They may come not because they want to grow, but because they want temporary relief. And if you are not careful, you may begin to believe that it is your duty to fix them. But this is a trap. Compassion does not mean carrying the weight of other people's unresolved baggage. Compassion means being available without becoming entangled. You can offer your clarity, your presence, your understanding, but you cannot walk another person's path for them. If you try, you will simply repeat the same cycles with the same kind of people, because the universe will keep testing whether your compassion is grounded or compulsive. If these words stir something within you, you may share your perspective with others who walk a similar path. There is another dimension to this. When you awaken, even slightly, your authenticity becomes luminous. People feel drawn to this naturalness because most human beings live wrapped in layers of pretense. Your presence becomes like fresh air in a stuffy room. But freshness attracts attention, and not all attention is nurturing. Some are drawn to your authenticity because they wish to discover their own. Others are drawn because they wish to borrow yours. The difference between these two is subtle but profound. One enriches your life, the other exhausts it. And until you learn to distinguish, the pattern may repeat. Life keeps bringing you familiar personalities not to punish you, but to refine your discernment. If you are listening closely right now, perhaps you can think of someone who came into your life in this way, and noticing this can be a quiet invitation to clarity. Energetically, we attract what we reinforce through attention. If you keep revisiting an old wound mentally, even while trying to heal it, you keep feeding the vibration of that wound. Then life will send people who resonate with it, not because you deserve it, but because that is the frequency you are broadcasting. But when you genuinely become free of the wound, not by suppressing it, not by justifying it, but by seeing it without distortion, the frequency dissolves. And suddenly, the same kind of person who used to enter your life no longer appears. Not because the world has changed, but because you no longer provide energetic hospitality for that pattern. If you feel moved by this realization, simply noticing the shift within yourself can already be a gentle step toward freedom. You must also understand that awakening does not erase karma. It illuminates it. Karma is simply the residual momentum of the past. When you awaken, you may become more aware of these residues. People who reflect your karmic patterns may appear more frequently for a while, not less. This is because consciousness becomes a bright light shining on the hidden corners of your being. Whatever hides there will come to the surface. The same type of personalities may show up repeatedly because each encounter is like peeling a layer. You meet the same lesson, but each time with slightly more clarity. And one day, when the core is touched, the pattern breaks effortlessly. Life no longer needs to bring those individuals to you because the learning is complete. If this understanding brings you insight, you might feel inspired to leave a thought or reflection for others walking this path, because sometimes your realization becomes a bridge for someone else's awakening. When an awakened person attracts certain individuals repeatedly, it can also be because awakening enhances your capacity to hold space for transformation. People sense this, sometimes intuitively. They feel safe around you, seen around you, or accepted around you. This can be a beautiful thing, but it can also become draining if you do not balance openness with discernment. Being a spiritual presence does not mean being endlessly available. A flower spreads fragrance effortlessly, but it does not run after every passerby. It stands rooted, full, complete within itself. You must learn to be like that, available but not entangled, giving without depleting, present without absorbing. And when you embody this, the quality of people you attract begins to shift dramatically. Let me tell you something fundamental. No one truly enters your life by accident. They come because of geometry. The geometry of your energy, your thoughts, your emotions, your karma, your awareness, these intertwine to create the architecture of your relationships. And when your inner geometry changes, your outer relationships must change. There is no other way. If certain people keep returning, then some part of your geometry is still familiar to that pattern. But if you continue to grow, continue to see, continue to refine yourself, one day you will notice that the same type of person no longer appears. Instead, you will attract those who match the clarity and depth you have cultivated within yourself. The world you experience is always a reflection, never a coincidence. And the reflections that repeat are the reflections you have not yet fully understood. So when the same type of person enters your life again, do not ask, "Why me?" Instead ask, "What is this showing me?" And if you look with sincerity, the answer will always be available. Life is never hiding from you. It is always revealing, always teaching, always guiding you back to yourself. All it asks is that you remain attentive. If something in this exploration resonates with you, let it not be a fleeting moment. Allow it to deepen within you. Sometimes a single insight can shift the entire landscape of your relationships. And if you feel called, you may even share these reflections with others, not as advice, but as an offering of clarity. Because every time someone grows, the world grows a little with them. And remember, you do not attract people with your desires. You attract them with your state. If your state is rooted, luminous and clear, the world responds accordingly. If your state is fragmented, the world shows you its fractures. But whichever way life responds, it is always offering you the next step toward your own expansion. This is the simple, profound geometry of existence. If you remain conscious, the repetition will cease. If you remain receptive, the lesson will reveal itself. And if you remain willing, transformation will become natural. The kind of people you attract will evolve because you have evolved. And that, ultimately, is the beauty of the spiritual journey. Life becomes not something that happens to you, but something that harmonizes with you. When you begin to sense this harmony, even in small moments, life becomes a different kind of experience. Instead of moving through the world half asleep, reacting to whatever comes your way, you start moving consciously, responding with clarity rather than compulsion. And as your responsiveness becomes more conscious, the people who are drawn into your life begin to shift. Those who once arrived to mirror your wounds may no longer find resonance within you. Their presence fades naturally, without conflict, without resistance, simply because there is no longer anything within you that calls them forth. This is the quiet magic of transformation. Nothing outward needs to be forced, yet everything outward changes. But let me also say this. Attracting a certain kind of person is not always a sign of imbalance. Sometimes, when your inner state becomes still and expansive, you will attract people who are genuinely seeking growth. They may come to you because your presence feels like a reminder of something they have forgotten within themselves. They may not be awakened, but they are awakening, and your clarity becomes a catalyst for their own unfolding. This can be a profound blessing, but only if you remain rooted. If not, even a beautiful intention can turn into entanglement. If you ever feel inspired while listening, you may pause for a moment and acknowledge the people in your life who uplift you, because gratitude itself has the power to deepen clarity. There is a subtle but essential distinction between being a guiding presence and becoming someone's emotional crutch. The former empowers them. The latter imprisons both of you. When someone repeatedly enters your life seeking emotional rescue, it may appear flattering at first. It may feel noble, even spiritual. But if you assume responsibility for their inner world, you are interfering with the very architecture of their growth. You are carrying a burden that is not yours to carry. And the more you carry what is not yours, the more you will continue to attract those who want to place their burdens into your hands. Life will keep sending them until you learn to stand without absorbing, until you can offer compassion without losing clarity. If this strikes a chord in you, you might feel moved to reflect on the boundaries you have set or not set in your relationships. Awakening is not about becoming invulnerable. It is about becoming transparent. When you are transparent, life moves through you effortlessly. You don't cling to people, and people don't cling to you. They come, they blossom, they grow, and they move on if they must. This fluidity is the true sign of inner freedom. But if your awakening is mixed with unconscious longing, longing to be appreciated, to be needed, to be validated, then the people you attract will reflect that longing. They will depend on you, admire you, follow you, but they will not necessarily nourish you. And until that longing dissolves, the same type of dependent or emotionally heavy individuals may continue to appear. But when longing becomes fullness, everything changes. When you are full within yourself, not in arrogance but in completeness, the people you attract are those who come not to take, but to share. They come not to drain, but to co-elevate. They come not because they need your light, but because they see their own light more clearly in your presence. This is the kind of companionship the awakened being eventually invites into life, not through effort, not through intention, but simply through the nature of their inner state. If this possibility feels alive in you, you may take a moment to reflect on the kind of presence you are offering to the world, because whatever you offer is inevitably what returns. As you deepen spiritually, the world becomes a classroom with no walls. Every encounter becomes a lesson, every relationship a mirror, every repeated pattern a doorway to greater clarity. Some doors you will open willingly, others life will open for you, whether you are ready or not. When similar personalities show up repeatedly, do not assume life is punishing you or limiting you. Life does not function in that way. Life is always offering what is needed for your next step of expansion. And until the learning is complete, the patterns will remain. Once the learning becomes complete, the patterns dissolve as though they never existed, not by force, not by rejection, but by the simple alchemy of awareness. Imagine for a moment that your inner state is a kind of fragrance. If that fragrance carries even a hint of unresolved pain, people who resonate with that pain will sense it, whether they know it or not. If your fragrance carries the scent of clarity, those seeking clarity will come near you. And if your fragrance becomes pure stillness, then only those who can breathe that stillness will remain. This is why the spiritual journey is not about controlling who enters your life. It is about tending to the fragrance of your being. If something in this metaphor touches you, simply noticing it may bring a gentle shift within you. Now let us consider something often overlooked. Sometimes the repetition of similar people is not because of a wound, not because of karma, and not because of unconscious patterns. Sometimes it is because you are being prepared. When life wants to prepare someone for a larger possibility, it often brings the same kind of challenge in multiple forms, not to trap you, but to sharpen you, to solidify your clarity, to make your inner stillness unshakable. It is like refining a blade, not once, but repeatedly, until it reaches a certain quality. When life sees that your clarity has matured, the pattern disappears on its own. This is the maturation of spiritual grounding, and as this grounding deepens, you will begin to see people not as good or bad, not as blessings or burdens, but as expressions of different states of consciousness. Some are rising, some are falling, some are stuck, some are searching. When you see this without judgment, you no longer get entangled with personalities. You simply respond according to the needs of the moment. If interaction is needed, you interact. If distance is needed, you create it. If silence is needed, you allow it. This neutrality is one of the greatest freedoms awakening brings. But even neutrality does not mean detachment from life. It means a deeper form of involvement, an involvement without distortion. You become available to people without being overwhelmed by them. You become receptive to life without being consumed by it. And in this ease, the people who enter your life tend to be those who are aligned with your path, those who come with clarity, with sincerity, with depth. The quality of your connections becomes a direct reflection of the quality of your consciousness. So if the same type of person keeps entering your life, do not be disheartened. Instead, use it as an opportunity for deeper inquiry. Ask yourself, what within me is being reflected here? What is life showing me? What is seeking resolution or expression or dissolution within my being? If you ask sincerely, answers will not come from the mind. They will arise from your awareness, and when the awareness becomes sharp, even long-standing patterns can dissolve in a single moment. This journey is not about attracting the right people. It is about becoming the right presence. When your presence becomes clear, steady, and awake, the world naturally reorganizes around you. The people who resonate with your clarity will find you. Those who do not will drift away. There is no drama in this. It is simply the geometry of inner alignment. And if you feel that something in this exploration has illuminated even a small corner within you, allow that illumination to stay. Let it deepen, let it breathe within you. And if you feel inspired, you may share your reflections with others, because sometimes your clarity becomes the beginning of someone else's transformation. As this journey reaches its natural closing, let us look once more at the essence of why spiritually awakened people seem to attract the same type of person into their lives. It is never because life is repeating itself pointlessly. Life is not a malfunctioning record player. It is a precise and compassionate teacher. The repetitions are invitations, sometimes gentle, sometimes intense, urging you to see more clearly, to feel more deeply, to grow more consciously. Every familiar personality that steps into your life is like a marker placed by existence, saying, "Here is something you have not yet fully understood. Here is a space within you that is ready to be transformed." And when you approach these moments with awareness rather than resistance, the very patterns that once frustrated you become the stepping stones of your evolution. As your awareness expands, you will begin to see that nothing in your relationships is accidental. Every connection is karmic geometry. Every attraction is energetic resonance. Every repetition is a form of guidance. And when that guidance is finally integrated, when the inner shift truly happens, life does not need to send you the same reflection again. The lesson completes itself, not with noise or drama, but with a quiet, dignified disappearance of what once felt inevitable. You will notice that the kind of people who used to gravitate toward you no longer appear, and even if they do, your inner experience remains untouched. This is not detachment, it is freedom. The beauty of awakening is that it makes you capable of participating in life without being imprisoned by it. You can offer love without losing yourself. You can be compassionate without becoming entangled. You can be available without being consumed. And when you live in this state, the people who enter your life come as co-travelers, not as burdens and not as tests. They come because your presence calls forth the best within them, just as their presence deepens the best within you. In this way, relationships become not cycles of repetition, but movements of growth. Always remember, the world does not change because you desire it to. It changes because you have changed. And the moment your inner state stabilizes in clarity, the world around you naturally reorganizes itself. If ever you feel moved by these reflections, you may allow that movement to ripple outward. Sometimes sharing your experience becomes a doorway for someone else to see their own patterns with new eyes. Not as advice, but as an offering, a simple spark that may illuminate someone's path. So if life has shown you repetition, do not see it as a trap. See it as an unfinished conversation between you and existence. And now that you have listened more deeply, perhaps that conversation can conclude. Patterns dissolve not through effort, but through awareness. And once they dissolve, the path ahead becomes open, spacious, and luminous. You will find yourself surrounded by people who resonate not with your wounds, but with your wholeness. Not with your fears, but with your presence. Not with your past, but with the clarity you now embody. If these words have stirred even a small shift within you, let that shift be your real takeaway. Not the idea, not the concept, but the subtle transformation happening within you right now. Because in the end, the people you attract are reflections of your inner state, and your inner state is something you can shape with awareness, sincerity, and presence. May your journey be clear. May your presence be steady. May the people who enter your life be those who nourish your growth, and may you walk through this world not as someone haunted by old patterns, but as someone who has learned to see, to understand, and to transcend. This is the quiet, profound freedom of an awakened life.